Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you could keep our appointment. Following a traumatic experience, tonight's guest, Seven God, developed and was later diagnosed with mental illness. However, after experiencing a deep spiritual awakening, Seven God began using affirmations as a way of battling his mental illness. Through affirmations, he discovered the mantra, I am, which led to the mindset of letting go of trauma and not claiming mental illness like a possession. Seven God became more at peace with his mind, body, and spirit, and magically began exhibiting a previously untapped ability to create amazing art. Today, art created by Seven God serves as a testament not only to his journey, but to that of countless others struggling with the stigma of mental illness.
Yeah, that's me.
After only a few short years as an artist, this rising star's contemporary artistry is capturing the attention of respected local art galleries, as well as that of the larger art community. His slogan, "Buy my art before I die," which Seven God often paints on clothing and signage, is both a conversation starter and a brilliant subliminal marketing strategy. I want you to help me welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G, tonight's guest, who I'm proud and happy to say he's a colleague in wellness, Brother Seven God.
Peace.
Peace, peace.
That was an awesome intro. I gotta get you. I got that was beautiful.
Listen, we have to rock to my beat. Like, see, I want you to know that's my theme music.
Yeah.
Look, I got my own stuff, right? And today I dressed all up in splashes of color in honor of having you as my guest, as an artist. I hope you can appreciate the look. They've never seen me in these red glasses, which are actually prescription glasses that I've had for probably like 7 years, Seven God. But I had to pull them out so I could actually be in sync with tonight. Welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. It is such an honor and a privilege to have you here, as I know that you're busy. You and I are yoga partners, yoga buddies. We're part of the God Squad, the God Squad originals.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know there's stuff that's coming up that you're heavily involved in. But thank you for coming to talk about such a, I want to say, a serious subject. You know, it's serious, but the good news is for you personally that you have been able to, you are an overcomer in the sense that you did not let what happened to you define you and put you in a box, so to speak. So I just want to again thank you for your journey. Thank you for your willingness to share the journey, and hopefully we'll be able, together with this broadcast, someone else would see their way out of maybe something that has them trapped from a mental or emotional state. So again, thank you for coming on the show. So let's just get to it, right? So first of all, I mean, even though this is June, I just realized that May was what they call Mental Health Month. But just like with the quote unquote Black History, I think every month is Mental Health Month. Nothing should be relegated to one little period of time, and certainly not mental health and mental wellness, or even physical or emotional health. This is something I think should be, and I know should be, addressed and worked on constantly, because there are a lot of things that are causing what we know as mental illness. in your case, though, starting right off the bat, when were you diagnosed with mental illness, and what specific, if you can share, diagnosis were you dealing with?
So even before I answer your question, I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you for the opportunity and having me on your show. This is an awesome opportunity to speak and tell my story and
Yeah.
build on perspective of mental illness as well as make people more aware of who I am, my story, and my art. To answer your question, I was diagnosed back in 2014 as schizophrenic bipolar.
Okay, 2014.
Yeah.
Um, how long had you been dealing with that? What precipitated the diagnosis?
Well, back in, if you're not familiar with my story, back in 2014, I was a fresh college graduate from a school in Pittsburgh called PTI, which stands for Pittsburgh Technical Institute. I have a degree in business administration with a concentrate with a minor in marketing. And when I came home, I was struggling. I had really early success with my clothing brand. While I was in school, I built a clothing line. Um, and this all what I'm telling you is the background to leading up to the story in a sense. When I came home, I was struggling. I chased the American dream, going to college, getting the degree, trying to really make something of myself. While I was in school, I had a firstborn daughter. I had my first child at 16. My 17th birthday, she was born. I had all these different things on my mind, and what happens is, what we don't understand is, the more traumatic experiences and the more things that we have built up, it's almost kind of like at some point becomes a breaking point, and it becomes a breaking point within yourself and within the mind. Um, as I was home working, I was a substitute teacher. I wasn't making a lot of money. I was living in my mom's basement. While I was in college, I still had made another child. So now I'm fresh home from school. I got two kids. No really no good stable income, all entry level jobs, and I was stressed out. I went to school to work at Amazon. It kind of messed with my psychological mood in a sense, and I started to medicate. I started to smoke weed. I never drunk. I never smoked weed in college. It wasn't until I got home when I started smoking weed and drinking, and that was due to just me having the toughness that I experienced with with the world. On top of that, me trying to be an entrepreneur and me trying to make the finances to have the financial freedom to become an entrepreneur. It was a struggle. One day, I'm in the hood with my friends at a dice game, and they slipped me something. When they slipped me something, it caused me to have a chemical imbalance and to be schizophrenic bipolar. Um, it's so much within the story that I probably won't, speak about on your broadcast. But in the next 2 weeks, I will be having a private viewing, that a short film that I shot, me and my friend shot, and it breaks down not everything, but certain elements of my story and what I've been through and things like that. But that's what I started at, like being around the wrong people, being around the wrong friends, smoking a lace blunt, and it almost cost me my life. It cost me my health. It cost me mostly everything. I went through so much during that time, but that's kind of like where diagnosis came from. When I was diagnosed, I was hospitalized. I had a deep out of body experience. Um, my family didn't know what mental illness was. They didn't know, you know, growing up in a black home, it's not talked about. It's not talked about mental illness. But my mom did not know what that was. Like, so it was a very, very hard and tough time for my family. But I went through a lot of different emotions, dealing with being diagnosed in a sense.
Well, let's before you go forward, let's go back to the experience, and I don't want you to stay there, because you're not there anymore. But
Hmm.
for what you can share, because there's so many people kind of get a feedback. So many people that do, they smoke and for medicinal purposes and so forth. But like you said, some are all people who smoke something that has something in it in addition to what's normally there susceptible to the kind of reaction that you had, or was it just something about your physiology that caused you to your mind and body and so forth to go out of whack?
I think that, I mean, to answer your question, I think that unless you growing your own weed or you really getting it from a reliable source, you don't know what you put into your vessel. I know for myself, maybe my body, not maybe my body couldn't handle, what I was not educated on. It's a difference from me smoking weed and I know what's in the weed, and I'm using it for healing purposes, versus not knowing what's in the weed, and it creates a whole chemical imbalance and offsets me all the way. So that is to answer your question, people who do smoke, everybody's body is different. Everybody's body reacts differently. So I really can't say that, if a person smokes weed with, let's say, sage or something like that, will they have a chemical imbalance or will they have an out of body experience? I don't know, because everybody's body is different. Everybody takes chemicals, differently within their own vessel. So I'm not all the way sure if them smoking will particularly lead them to having my kind of experience. Like my experience it wasn't unique, because you hear about things like that where I come from all the time, where people are gonna slip Mickeys or slip something in weed and they never ever, ever be the same again. By the grace of God, I'm able to not be the same, but still have elements of being able to have conversations, because sometimes that takes people off the deep end and they never really fully come back. So I'm grateful, humbled, and just have a level of grace to be able to have like educated conversation where you can understand me,
Do you feel as though you're still suffering from the is it you said paranoid, was it paranoid schizophrenia? Let me.
So I don't. So based on my spiritual practices, um, I only speak about mental illness, and even not even claim it, even speak about it, because it's almost like if I walked around saying that mental illness that doesn't exist and it's nothing but a spiritual warfare within, people would think I'm nuts. You
Right.
know, Tupac, he said, in order to take over somebody's world, you have to enter into it. So me speaking on it is letting people know that, okay, I was diagnosed, but I'm not claiming it, and I'm not. It's nothing wrong with me. Although I have good and I have bad days. You
We
asked
all
me,
do.
do I still deal with certain things? Absolutely. Um, I still deal with things, but not from a perspective of like saying that I'm schizophrenic or I'm bipolar. And although those things may still exist, I'm just manifesting that I'm going to heal myself, and I'm not going to be called crazy, or I'm not going to be boxed into this mentally ill artist who creates because he had a break in the mind. Like, nah, through my affirmations, through my mantras, through my healing work, I want to be a reflection of like, it's no different than somebody having cancer or even having AIDS. I mean, Dr. Sadie talked about that. Alkaline in the body, getting rid of certain toxins, and getting rid of, certain mucuses. Like, you actually can heal thyself. So, I want to be an example of that. And yeah.
So from a standpoint, and I can appreciate that. I had a guest, a visitor that was here earlier today, and he happened to say he was getting ready to go. I think he said he was going to have like a teleconference with his doctor, and he was regarding his diabetes. And I
Mm.
immediately said to him, first of all, I said that's where you're making a big mistake. He said, well, no, I said, by calling it your diabetes. He said, well, it is mine. I said, only if you want it to be. And
Right.
so it's the same thing, like you said, with, and I began to, explain to him.
Also,
Yeah.
not to cut you off, Dr. G, but also having people like Abundance Child. My father has been an instrument in my life. He has been um, a really, really awesome tool to guiding me through spirituality. The reason I'm Seven God is because of
Yeah,
that
I was
man.
going to ask you how
Yeah.
you adopted the.
Listen, my dad always said, honor thy mother and thy father. When it comes to like being an entrepreneur and getting out here and hustling, I got that from my mom, and my dad had that element too. But I grew up, in the household with my mom, so I really was able to, she was able to hold my hand physically and walk me through the process. Where my dad, he was able to guide me in directions and give me knowledge and information. So I give them both their flowers and their credit. Um, But I definitely got to give praise to my father. He was definitely the force and the energy and in the seed that planted within myself to become, spiritual and talk about numerology. Like I learned that from him, having conversations. And I mean, talking to my dad and even talking to abundance. Like my dad does not let me claim mental illness. He does not let me claim it. That's one. Two, abundance. My sister, love her to death. She always say, ain't nothing wrong with you. You all right. You just having some issues. Like they don't let me. So one thing that I can say about going through mental illness is having a real support system. Having people that can be the backbone for you, because people around me won't even let me talk about mental illness in the colonizer way. You know, um, we just change the verbiage a little bit. It's a spiritual warfare. You gonna get through it. We all have bad days. So um, having that kind of mindset and perspective, it definitely changes the dynamic of how I say things, how I create, and how I approach things. Now, of course, I still use the word mental health advocate in a sense, because people are not ready to be vegan, to be super raw, which I'm still raw, but you have to give them the applesauce effect. Put the Mexican applesauce and give it to them. So it's like a little bit of like healthy, creative balance in a sense.
So you work with others who are struggling maybe with some level of mental illness, or
So
you
the funny thing is, in my like not early stages, but my mid stages of dealing with my mental illness, a lot of my friends, a lot of my artist friends had the same diagnosis. Actually, two of my best friends, people I call my brothers, um, I worked with them very, very closely and was able to get to see my reflection, right? And what I mean by that is, oftentimes it's said that we are nothing but each other's reflection. So if I sit back and I be an observer and I watch my friend go through his schizophrenic attacks, it gives me a level to see myself. I can't witness myself unless I record myself, or unless I record myself in a sense. But having people that kind of remind me of me go through things is like, oh wow, that's how I be talking. That's how it sounds to be manic. And through them, um, and other people, I learned parts about myself. And I do work with a lot of children. I do art therapy. I've been doing art therapy for the last 3 years now. Schools and programs come and hire me, and I teach not just mental illness, but I teach kids how to steal their mind and tap into their creativity while utilizing art. Art was a tool to help me heal myself. So as a way of giving back and as a way of doing my purpose, as I would say, um, I offer art therapy to kids and to adults as well. That's been really, really successful for myself.
so is art therapy? Now I noticed that your art is contemporary largely, and I guess I would call it abstract,
Hmm.
and contemporary abstract, and probably message oriented to an extent, because you incorporate words and so forth. So do when you're doing the therapy, are you teaching or instructing the children? And by the way, we don't call them kids over here, just in case somebody in the chat want to correct, we all come from different places. We say the kids are goats, but I know what you mean, the children. But are the children instructed on how to just be expressive from a standpoint of not any necessarily creating what you create, but allowing themselves to put um, colors on a paper and say whatever they feel? Or how does art therapy go? Is it guided, or is it sort of free and just whatever your interpretation is of how you feeling? And I mean that the student.
So typically, when somebody hires me with a program, they usually come with an issue, and some issues are mental illness, some issues are self confidence, some issues are creativity. Um, the last 3 years I've been doing art therapy, the jobs have not been always the same. To answer your question, I don't teach art. I just teach them to tap into self, and that is art. So as we're doing my art therapy classes is steps that I take. So the first thing is thanks. So divine prayer. After you get into divine prayer, you get into just being able to have the room be still with energy. So meditation, guided meditation. Um, After that, depending on what kind of topic that we're going into, I break down an activity that deals. I'm a visual artist, so I'm always incorporating art within what I'm doing, but I'm not having them copy a painting and say, hey, this is a flower. We're gonna learn how to, create. I'm a self-taught artist. I didn't go to art school. I learned art through a deep spiritual experience. So I'm not um polished in a sense. I'm really like a raw, unique, emotion based artist who just feels like everything I do is through the divine. So with the kids, I allow them to express themselves in any kind of way with creative structure though. So I do 7 steps. In 7 steps or 7 colors, I teach them chakras, color therapy, and all these different things that we go through. I have examples, I have affirmations attached to it, just so they can understand what they're getting themselves into. Because a lot of times, you said my art is contemporary, it's abstract, it's messages. I don't know how to create without being intentional, So everything I do, whether it be a line, whether it be a color, it's a strategy and it's an intention behind that. And then sometimes I let myself or the energy just let me be free. I sit back and I look at it and say, wow, I didn't know what myself was trying to tell me. Now I do know. Things do take time in a sense when it comes to, being a creative and then saying one day you just be inspired by something, you just paint. And you sit back and say, I don't know why I did that. And then it grows on you. So everything I do is like intentional. I teach the kids to have intentions and have purpose, substance, if you ask me.
Well, yeah, I have some of your art, and what I plan to do throughout is kind of like pop up some, and some of the art you've created and having you talk about it. But I failed to do this at the beginning. Please, 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 those of you who are in the chat, please like and share the fact that we're on. Most of you that I see are subscribed. Just like and share. Please like and share. If you're not, please subscribe to the channel. But more than subscribing, I want you to give us a thumbs up and to share this. This is a very serious subject because there's such a stigma. Mental illness is such a stigma in the melanated community. We are not, we want to be stalwart, and we want to put on a happy face and then be dying on the inside, and that's not how you do it. Because if you're anything, and you're Pisces, just like I am, I've been wanting to get a group of Pisces together because we are sometimes emotional roller coasters. We have those two fish going in two different directions. We're very creative. We got all of the combination, I think, of every sign in us, and so we have so much that just the tipping point. I think for a Pisces, it's easy, because there's so much volatility in us, so much creativity in us. If the wrong thing gets introduced, like such in your case, with the whatever it was in the weed, it could just send you on a, like you said, a trip. And and I'm gonna be honest with you, and with the listeners. And I think I said this one time, and it may have gone over some people's head. But one thing about Dr. G, in most of my 66 years, I have always been transparent. You know what I mean? I tell it, like it is. I don't have a bunch of secrets. I mean, of course, there are things that you do keep to yourself, but there are times when your own experiences, just like you sharing now, even though it's something that's past you, beyond you, or that you have under control, you feel the Most High saying, but you can let somebody else know what I brought you through. Because the mere fact that they see you where you are now, as opposed to you're not your story. You know what I mean? You got to a point where you begin to you re-scripted the story of your life. I spent 30 days in well, you're here, so Rockford Center. You know what the Rockford Center is? Okay, so I spent 30 days in the Rockford Center. And I don't know how I was probably in my 30s or something, and I went through a traumatic experience, and I did some stuff because I got with the wrong people wasn't something. That's not what took me there. It was the fear of death. Somebody was gonna kill you. When somebody's gonna kill you, that can make you feel crazy too, because you're trying to figure out how you're gonna get out of this. And so it took me into another place. And so my doctor felt for like safety and just to get my head together to put me in that place. And the interesting thing was that I didn't think there was anything wrong with me except stress. But when I got there and went through, group therapy and things like that, then you realize there is shit wrong. You know what I mean? You've been hiding it, covering it up, or doing other things. And so I had a lot of epiphanies. I had epiphanies about things that went all the way back to childhood, about how not intimidated, but how I felt because my mother used to put I don't know if you know anything about this, but my mother used to put anklet socks on me, like little girls back in the 50s. In the early 60s, we wore these little, socks that folded down at the ankle with little lace around them. I don't know if they did them later on, and I had something called impetigo growing up, meaning every time I would go into like wooded areas, like go visit our family, what we call it down the country, I would break out. And so you end up with little spots on your legs. And I was self-conscious about it. But as a child, my mother didn't realize how self-conscious I was. So she would put me in these what she thought were cute little, anklet socks. And I was freaking out all those, for those years, thinking, I don't like my legs. I hate my legs. And so I'm in therapy, probably 27, 30 plus years later, freaking out about, toddlerhood and coming up in my early grades of how I hated that. Then I also felt like my dad, who I didn't grow up with, I was having daddy issues, but I never exhibited them. So it helped me being in that place to deal with stuff that I didn't even know was a problem. I quit smoking in the middle of a cigarette while I was in that 30-day program. I mean, I was like, what the hell am I doing? I smoked about a pack a day. And that started in the military. And so I gave that up and different things happened. So it was a good thing. But when I'm sharing this because here I am now, people respect Dr. G. I have a doctorate degree, not in medicine, but in theology. I have a counseling background. I have I do different, things. I have, my metaphysical things that I do. But if I got stuck in that episode of my life with crack cocaine and being with a big time drug dealer that was going to try to kill me and ended up in Rockford Center for 30 days. If I got stuck there, I wouldn't be here. And I think with a lot of people,
I can't hear you, Dr. G.
You can't hear me at all? Can you hear me now? In the chat, can y'all hear me? Let me turn this up. Let me make sure. Let me know.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let me see. I'm asking in the chat if they can hear, because I got my volume up. Just give me. Oh, they can hear. They can hear me. So I don't know what's going on.
Can't hear you.
Check your Did you mute? Are you muted?
I can't hear nothing. Hold on.
We hear you.
You can hear me? I can't hear you though.
Let's figure out what's going on. Can you? I can hear you. Can you hear my guest, Seven God? I'm waiting for a response from them.
I can't hear nothing you saying, Dr. G.
I know. So they can hear you. So they can hear you and I can hear you. Do me a favor. Log out and come back in if you can. Okay. All right. I'm not sure what's going on with him. But as we continue this conversation, when he gets back, just trying to be, transparent from the standpoint that, mental illness, while it's been stigmatized, many have gone through things. Sade Renee, who you calling old? Oh, okay. Oh, that's something that has nothing to do with me. You too old to be talking about your child. Listen, I'm just sharing. Let me bring you in.
You can hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no. So I'm sharing. When I said, childhood trauma, these were subconscious things. When I got into that 30-day inpatient situation, stuff started surfacing that I didn't know was there. So I don't know, with you being a Pisces, when this introduction of this substance came to you, if it kind of unearthed some things that may have been at the surface level, because I was saying earlier, as Pisces, we have so much going on with us. We have creativity. My mind is going a mile a minute all the time about this, that, and the third, and I want to do this, and I'm going to do that, and this person's calling, and I pick up this project and that. And if you're anything like a typical, like you said, you were fresh out of college, you had aspirations for being in business, you had 2 children, but you were working at Amazon, or that was the prospect. So a lot of things were going on. So I don't know whether the weed was just an escape, because they say Pisces can either do this, or we can lean towards escapism. And I was in a relationship where I was never grew up doing drugs or anything, but sometimes you get in a relationship and things get and your even relationships, in your case, your friends, your colleagues, your associates, because they introduced you to something. I mean, that stuff can make you do crazy stuff. We had a guy.
They didn't introduce me. I took it upon myself to start smoking, based on my stress. So it wasn't that no somebody introduced me to anything. Now when I was in the hood, smoking amongst my friends, they consciously knew that I only smoked weed. So whatever was inside of the lace blunt, that was a whole malicious act, you know. And plus, the person, I'm not gonna say no name, but the person that actually did it, he actually confessed. So that's how me and my family know, is because he actually confessed he felt bad. I was hospitalized. I couldn't walk. I could barely talk. I had a really really deep out of body experience that my father said to me. I was able to see beyond the veil. And if anybody in the chat read the Bible, it talks about the veil. The eyes have
Mhm,
veil. We are protected from certain realities or certain dimensions or even certain, let's say, your senses. You can't see beings walking, right? But they're
mhm.
amongst us, whether it be an interdimensional or whatever the case may be. And I was able to see that. That blew my whole entire top back, because then it answered the question. I'm not alone. So that journey took me into really deep awakening after my accident. Now I'm exploring what I've seen. Now I'm looking up reptilians, and I'm looking at extraterrestrials, like those them kind of thoughts being exposed so early. It took my mind somewhere else. Now my physical art, I call it my divine language. It's a language that's spoke but not spoken. It's a language that my soul and the divine is having in front of the public, in a sense.
Mhm.
And a lot of my line work, a lot of my divine language also represents energy. So when people walk into my space or they see my art, it makes them feel a kind of way, because it's pure energy speaking to you in a different kind of language. Um, Energy is our first language, because we universally all recognize energy. Before English, before anything, it goes back to energy.
Mhm.
So with my art, I practice that principle, mixing that with words, my thoughts, images, lines. Like, it's all encompass of my divine work. And some people would say it look like almost like your modern day hieroglyphs. And if you see behind me, you see a whole entire wall with my divine language, in a sense.
Yeah, your loft is awesome.
Thank
uh,
you.
and you have can you pan a little around a little bit, we can
I don't
see.
know if I can. I don't know if
We
anybody can see it, but
can
this is
see. Yeah, that's that's
so.
amazing.
This space is called the Seventh Dimension, the Sacred Art Healing Temple. Opens in about 3 weeks. It's a gift from the divine once again, and it's a private showroom slash healing temple that will be open in 3 weeks, and it's by appointment only. Um, it's by the grace of God that I have this, and I'm just honored to be able to be in a space like this, to be able to share my expression, share my dream, goals, aspiration, but also build with people and give people a level of healing. So yeah, yep.
I want to go back a little bit because, and I also want to, for anybody that might be a little bit confused, I saw a comment that said something about helping with the Moorish something. You need to understand and understand, and you can understand that Office Hours with Dr. G is not a strictly Moorish science venue. Yeah, that's why I'm moving some stuff over to Dr. G as official. But you, those of you who know me, I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking to somebody who may think that everything I do on here has to do with being Moorish or nationality and birthright. That's not what I do here. This is office hours. This is not Friday night with Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey or with Brother Abdullah or Brother Shem. This is office hours on Tuesday. So if you want strictly Moorish science, then that'll be Friday with the Grand Sheikh. If you want a variety of information and knowledge and realism, then stay right where you are. Okay. Thank you so much. I just got to make that plain because we do deal with that. I am a Moor, but I try to tell folks that I am not a myopic Moor. In other words, I'm not looking down the periscope and everything I see, I don't see what's on the left or right or what's above or below. It's a broad spectrum of who we are as Moors or not. Melanated people, non-melanated people, we go through things and we deal with those things on this channel. Some of them are specifically, sometimes it is of a Moorish nature, but other times it's not. So please don't try to pigeonhole me because you will be sadly disappointed if that's what you're looking for.
I'm bagging up.
That's my PSA. I mean, because I don't have time for folks to try to dictate to me what's coming across here. There's somebody that needs to hear this. There's somebody that wants to hear it. And so, if they want something more specific, Friday, Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey be on there. You can more to, till the cows come home. But tonight we talking about the art of mental illness, and we're helping ourselves as well as somebody else. Even if they're looking at this in the replay, this is going to help someone. The energy, we are two Pisceans on the scene, and I know how we are. This brother and I, we do yoga together, and I'm just meeting Brother Seven, but there's a kinship. Amongst amongst those of us who gather, 2-3 times a week and work our bodies and our minds and our spirits and break not bread but fruits and veggies together.
Absolutely.
And I am so appreciative of you taking the time because I know you're busy, and we have an event that's coming up. There's an event coming up on Saturday, for Juneteenth that I'm sure you're doing. I'm performing. I'm doing a couple things. So there's a lot of things we could be doing. Hopefully, we're helping someone with this discussion or this conversation with regards to mental illness. And I wanted to ask you, are there times when you're working with children? I want to go back to children, then I want to go back to where I was going to go before I switch to where I'm at now. When you're working with children, are children more, the children you work with, do they share their fears or what they may be going through emotionally and mentally? Do they feel like you're a safe place, a safe space to be able to share whatever it is that what's under the bed? What I mean?
So due to some of the laws and guidelines with the schools, I can't get that personal with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I do have kids who reach out to me separately,
Mm-hmm.
and their parents reach out to me for them to vent to me and things like that. But when I do the art therapy class, I'll say that the kids are very, very receptive. You also have to understand, like, affirmation and meditation. It's new to some of these kids. They don't even know what affirmation is. If it's not in your household, or if you never heard somebody talking about it, it's new to them. I want to say a couple months ago, well, like a month ago, I did Servians Girl Academy. I did 50 young girls. I did a all girls school. The really unique thing is I'm a man teaching queens how to be a little bit more self-conscious of their self, and then pouring into them with affirmations, meditation. Like, if you go to my Instagram at 7GODXX, you'll see the footage of like how they responded, how hyped they was just to create and to be in a different kind of space. So that's really, really different for kids. you know, to tap into their creativity. And like it goes back to the applesauce trick again. Like for me, I'm not trying to teach nobody art. Like that's a small thing to what I'm trying to teach them. I'm trying to teach them tools to help their mind. You don't learn about depression, anxiety, meditation, affirmation, even generational wealth or culture in school. It's not taught. So I'm able to come in these schools and drop seeds and give them things that they not normally getting on a daily. That's like the most powerful things. And being a black man and being an example, you know, having my own kids and this being an example of the change that I'm seeking within the world, within myself as well.
Okay. So when you had your experience,
Hmm.
though, you mentioned that the veil
Hmm.
sort of was rent. I think there's a
It was
scripture.
lifted.
The veil was either, they say the veil
Like
was.
how you got glasses on right now. If
Mhm.
your glasses was my earthly eyes, God snatched them joints off, and I seen everything.
Do you continue? You talk about interdimensional and extraterrestrial sightings or things. Is that something that you still now did it put you in a place where you can cross dimensions in your dealings? I mean,
I wouldn't say on a physical level, but mentally at times I do drift, uh, astro project. But that's like a whole nother like topic and conversation. Far as me getting deep into my meditation and just being still within my vessel and being able to just go. Once, okay, so I think Dick Gregory said this. He says when the universe chooses you, you can't give it back. The fact that I've been open, it's like when somebody take mushrooms or they take ayahuasca for the first time. Once you pop that cherry, it's over. Like it's no way that I can ever go backwards and unlearn what I seen. Like it's no way. I experienced it, and it woke me up. It just gave me clarity on I am not the only being in existence. Humans are not the only beings on this planet of existence. We live in a multi-dimensional universe. You are not the only thing here, you know? So that's what it showed me, you know, in a sense.
so can give us an example of some of what you experienced when you saw that, or I mean.
So getting deep into my out of body experience, I'll tell you two things that I seen giants, I seen purple enlightened beings. Um and even more than two. I give you a few more. I seen light, so really bright lights. No figure, no form, just uh no words, telepathically speaking. Um and I was able to witness, and it kind of spooked me. I was able to witness a reptilian, and for those who in the chat who don't know what reptilians are, it's a race that has been existing since the beginning of time in a sense, and they are reptorial humanoid like. Being able to see that really threw me off, you know, because mind you, I'm young. This is about seven years ago. So I'm 29 now. So this was like when I was like in my early 20s. It threw my mind for a whole monkey wrench, and I started researching it. And my dad said, you're not alone. You're not the only person on this planet that witnessed that or experienced that. So when I did my research on YouTube and just people giving their own testimony, I'm like, wow, I'm not the only person who witnessed these beings or things of existence. Just recently, I want to say the news just captured aliens on the news. They couldn't catch them. They couldn't catch the flying whatever. Like I mean it's been examples of aliens on the Egyptian walls. So like they do exist, you know. And I mean, yeah, they exist. So that's
I,
something that.
I've actually seen things that came through walls, through doors.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't want to see it no more. I would never listen. I would never, and I mean this with so much sincerity and grace. I would never want my worst enemy to experience what I experienced without knowing what I got myself into, without having any knowledge of being on the other side. I have. I'm grateful I got through it, you know, mentally, and to be able to be okay with being okay with what I've seen. and still to be able to operate at a certain kind of like, cool level in a sense. Like that's a powerful thing within your mental and then your spirit to be able to endure that, So I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy though, Unconsciously. If you're conscious doing it, it's totally different. You know what you're doing. You have information and knowledge beyond this existence. You know what I mean? Kudos to you. But somebody who don't know nothing about spirituality or extraterrestrials, whoo, that's a hell of a awakening, I tell you that.
But we are getting closer, I believe, to what they call disclosure or something. Something is up. But the fact of the matter is, you experienced this in the context of an episode. Did this go on for a while, or was this just the initial?
Nah, it went on for years. The thing about mental illness people don't talk about is it does not have a face. So, okay, AIDS might have a face, the corona might have a face. We don't know what it looks like. It look different for everybody. So let's say on Friday, I was super happy, I was cool, but on Monday I'm flipping out, I'm throwing stuff, fighting with people. They call that manic episodes. I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating right, I'm not nourishing my body. It's all a battle within a sense. Like and it all plays into trauma, really deep embedded, what you spoke about, like things that I didn't even know that was there. It was like, hold on, face this demon, face that demon, hold on, face this. Like God was spinning me. If I can give you an example, it was like being in an internal sparring match with the high self and the low self, and it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back up and down. And I went through that for years. And I mean, I still, just last year, turned 29, I went through a real bad experience. I thought I was going to die. Like and I'm a Pisces, so I'm super emotional. So when things happen to me, it might be simple to somebody else, but it's like times 10 on me. So like this last year, I had a real deep experience where my dad had to talk to me like, yo, you're going to be okay. We're going to get through it. I can't sleep at times. I still have trouble sleeping to this day. Like, so it's still a journey. It's not that I'm, speaking from a place of like hierarchy, like I'm seven God, and I have accomplished this, and my mind is healed. Like, nah, I'm still dealing with things that I never knew I even buried. So it's almost like uh digging up fossils and bones within yourself, and refiguring that, and looking at it, and dissecting it, and looking at it from different angles. And I mean, it's a gift and a curse, because sometimes you can go too deep into your mind, or you can let things liberate you. I allowed my pain and what I've been through, I allowed it to enlighten me rather than to kill me and bury me.
I want to show. Let me see. I wanted to pull up. This is this particular. Hopefully, you can see this. This
Yep, the mask.
That's the mask
Yes.
that you created, and who's behind the mask?
That's me. So back in 2014, when I was living in my mom's basement, when I was first diagnosed, I was very insecure. I was very afraid of what I seen. So as a way to protect myself, I put on a mask, like superheroes. I found the mask, and one of my friends was like, "Yo, Sheen, take it back to the ancestors and the tribal days." So I put a mask on to protect myself, for what I was seeing. For like about 2 years, I suffered from hallucinations and seeing things like how you spoke about seeing my walking through the wall. I actually witnessed stuff like that, and it messed with me for a long time. So a way to protect myself and to build up my strength, I put a mask on, and the mask became a symbol of protection, but also it became a symbol of creativity and hope. Um, a quick example of how I used the mask was, if anybody watches the Avengers, when Bruce Banner, who was the Hulk, get into the Hulk mode, he becomes the Hulk. But without the Hulk, he's Bruce Banner. So with the mask off, I'm regular old seven. No, I'm regular old Hashim. With the mask on, I become seven God. It's almost like we all wear masks in a way. I just kind of made something um physical to my spirit. And when I first started wearing it, my mom cussed me out, called the cops on me. I'm tripping. Like I went through a real bad struggle with my family because, like, once again, they don't know nothing about mental illness. So I got the whole "you crazy," You painting devilish figures. Now, mind you, I'm drawing things in hieroglyphs, and my mom like, that's voodoo. What's wrong with you? Like, so yeah,
So you literally wore this mask.
to paint at first. I wore it to paint. I wore it to protect myself from what I was seeing. And another thing, I was embarrassed about expressing myself. I was really insecure about my art. I was so insecure. I'm like, it's ugly. I don't like it. Like, I was like beating myself up. But I put the mask on to protect myself from being expressive. Like, who was the man behind the mask? Like 2018 ish, 2019. I wore the mask a lot to
So
events.
you, so if you live, oh, okay, if it wasn't your everyday comings and
Yeah,
goings.
yeah.
Oh,
Some days, based on my mood, I would wear for months straight, or even a year. Whenever you would see me, like, oh, that's Seven God. You know, people got used to seeing me, but in the pure beginning, like, who the hell is he? He's crazy. What's wrong with him? Walking around with a mask on, like, it was crazy.
but many
Fresh.
of us wear masks, like you said. They just aren't physical masks.
I was wearing masks before Corona.
Well, I'm talking about, the mask that hides who we
Yeah,
really are,
yeah.
or mask our pain, or mask, our disappointment or whatever.
Another reason why I started wearing it outside of my home is because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't be talking to you. I probably would be barricaded in my house in my mom's basement still to this day. Um, I challenged myself. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna go outside with this mask on. And it's not to entertain nobody. Like, I really didn't want to lock myself in. So I reprogrammed my mind to be with inside my vessel. And when I put my mask on, it's kind of like my protection from people's emotions, their judgmental I don't care. At this point, I'm blocking everything out, and I'm going to do what I want to do. So that's how I use it. I use it as a way of as a way of protection, And now, it's a symbol of hope. It's a symbol of integrity. Symbol of, like, it's infinite now. The mask has been used for so much more than what it originally came out to be. So I allow the mask to have its own creative expression in a sense. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because that would you say though, and you may have already said it, that really was a result of what you were battling with. It was as
Yes.
a result from that. So you wanted to, you just didn't, you figured if they couldn't see you, the one that was dealing with it, that this imagery had power beyond what you felt you had at the time.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I took the mess and I iced it out. I put it on the camera. This is the actual mess.
Okay.
And as you can see, it's diamonds and Swarovski crystals on here. And it says at the top, heal pain. So
Okay.
this is my healing. I call it my healing mask, but it also goes back to our culture doing ceremonies and rituals. So it's really funny because a lot of people that's in the spiritual community, they love it because um at a very young age, I'm tapping into things and bringing it back on a modern day thing. Like, we don't have hieroglyphs on the walls anymore. We have art in a sense. So being able to bring certain elements back, um, it's kind of fun. Like, nothing ever truly dies. It's always being reinvented, recreated. So yeah.
Okay. I wanted to see if there was any questions. I mean, I know there are comments and things. We all know when people start seeing it. I want to make sure I'm in the questions and comments and they have something to do with what we're talking about. Um, just want to make sure. So, creativity. Because I feel you. As a Pisces and as a person who has an audience that watches me from all over. Sometimes, like I said, I was saying earlier, it's hard, to be transparent because you don't want people to lose respect or something, because a lot of times people don't understand that we come from somewhere. Everybody comes from somewhere, but I see the beauty to me in what would be otherwise negative, what was rather a negative and painful experience, because you have been able to make what they say, the lemonade out of the lemons,
Yeah. And I also would say for a long time, I used to battle. It wasn't until before my mental illness, I had the ultimate confidence. You couldn't tell me anything. Um, but when I was diagnosed, I lost myself. Then I had to rediscover and redefine who I was. And for me, I don't care about being understood because you don't have to understand me to respect me, you know? So for me, it's almost like this level of respect. You know, you might not get where I'm coming from. You might not understand it, but it's just a level of respect because I might not be for everyone. You know, I might be like, you know what, I see what he doing, and I don't know about it, but I can respect it. That's all I want.
Right.
Being understood is a whole complex because to understand me is to know my story, is to also have a level of confidence in knowing thyself. And we all know that our people suffer from that really severe of knowing self. Like me wearing a mask is no different than people putting on masks at a doom day or mask at our Juneteenth festival. You know what I mean? So sometimes our people suffer from lack of identity. To where me, I have always been well aware of who I am and who I want to become. I told people too, it's not about finding yourself, it's about creating who you want to be. Because once you find who you are, is the journey over? Nah, create, create. I say, vision, discover, create, build.
Vision. Oh, I wasn't sure if that was an acronym for something. Um,
Nah.
I'm just thinking in terms of what you just said, that before the episode that created the mental and the mental illness, you were confident, self-confident. You had no qualms about, except for the fact that you just weren't doing what it was that you had, that was your plan, was to do certain things, and you that wasn't panning out. What does it feel like to go from being confident, self-confident, to feeling like, because to me, that what you went through would be a loss of control, of self-control, because you didn't create the imagery, you didn't create the episodic periods, and so forth. What I'm saying is, you didn't will those to happen. You didn't say, today I'm going to flip out, or today I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm going to stop walking, or whatever. So how does it feel to go from being what you said you were to feeling helpless, or out of control, and not the way back? Now my thing was such a short period of time that, to me, it does not compare your to what you went through. So I'm trying to, for the sort of sake of my own self, and even those who may be watching, to know what it feels like to go from being super confident and self-assured, and got a plan, and got abilities, to helplessness, so to speak.
To answer your question, is the feeling of like being in hell in the dark. So being on fire, but not being able to see it. So, once upon a time, being a kid who was the light of the city, who was throwing parties, fashion shows, having a lot of money as a young kid, not knowing what to do with it, and losing all of that in a snap of a finger, being around the wrong people, um, and then losing who you are. It feels like being in hell, but not being able to physically see hell. Um, I had to. I lost everything, but me losing everything, I found myself, the deeper version of myself, who I was as a young man growing up. That still was me. I still have elements of that within me, but I just went deeper. Hashim is my real name. Hashim Ahmad, which stands for Crusher, Destroyer of Evil, Worthy of Praise. I tell people, just because I'm seven God or I'm seven does not mean that Hashim doesn't exist. Seven is an extension of Hashim. I wanted to rediscover who I was, and I was forced to find a deeper version of me, and that is what we know as today is Seven God.
So, what are your plans, though? Well, you did share one. One is, you have a private healing sort of a community that you're opening up to, for therapy, for those who can come and enjoy not only your art,
Mm-hmm.
but you I know you shared with me that there will be others. So are you yourself, um, are you kind of teaming up with others to create or to provide the various services that you mentioned that would, would be available in that
Absolutely.
space?
So to answer your question, I have a lot of things coming up. I have a rage room coming up in August and September, which
Who
is a part of my first. It's a part of my first body of work, which is called Mood Swings. Mood Swings is a body of work dedicated to my mental illness. Um, so I got that coming up. Of course, like you said, I'm opening up my private loft space. Me and my collective, which is called Jami Tribe. We just formed an alliance and a partnership with the museum called the Delaware Contemporary Museum. So we have a year residency with them that basically allows us to do events. Right now on display is Give Me My Flowers, which is one of the members in Jami Tribe named Shakira Hut. The exhibition is based on Black men embracing their feminine energy, as well as Buy My Art Before I Die affirmation room titled I Am, I Was. Right now,
I
um,
like this piece here. I pulled that. I put that up. Um, that's your. Would that be with your brand or no?
nah, it's just
Just one of your.
it's just a slogan that's taking its own form, a campaign, I would say.
Okay. All right. So Shakira is a photographer. Or am I
She's a
correct?
photographer. She's an interior designer.
Now that
She's a lot of different things. I can't even put her in a box. She's a lot of different things. Yeah,
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 I'll pull up one of the pictures as she. I think this is one of her pictures here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, yep, yep.
Okay. Some of your design. So here we go. This is.
That's a display I did on New Year's with this event in Philly called Art from the Heart. It was a Buy Mark Before I Die pop up, and the whole entire campaign it came from a conversation. So last year during quarantine, I did 2 installations. I did more than 2 installations, but towards the quarantine, I did an installation in MKT Gallery, which was titled "The Story How a King Found His Crown," and then after that, I did a like a 6 month um installation with a building um that a nonprofit owns named Dr. J. She's like a mom to me. We formed a partnership and I did the seventh dimension, escape into a reality beyond mental illness. I did the whole entire space, painted the inside of it. It was really intricate. During that space, I didn't get kind of what I was looking for. I didn't get what I wanted to receive from the audience. It made me a little depressed. I felt bad because I worked so hard to give people this, crazy experience, and then it didn't really take off the way I wanted to. Plus, quarantine happened, so a lot of that affected, the traffic. Um, my friends came in. It was like, yo, I see what you're doing. We love it. Awesome job. Um, they asked me what was wrong with me. I'm like, man, it's just it don't it feel like something is missing. It don't feel right. I wasn't satisfied. And it was like, yo, you a genius. You brilliant. Understand that what you do will echo throughout eternity, and you're not gonna get what you're trying to put them onto until you die. That kind of fucked with me. That kind of
Is
it
that
kind of
where that buy my art before I die
So
sort
so
of?
let me finish. So that it kind of fucked with me. I was like, what? They not gonna receive me until I die. I was like, man, fuck all that. Buy my art before I die. When I went home, I had about 75 canvas stacked to the wall. I'm painting this red canvas, and it had spilt on my foot. I'm like, interesting. Paint always spill, but this time it was the way that the paint spilled. It was like, okay. I took white and red and I made pink, and I took 75 canvases and painted over top of them and sprayed Buy My Art Before I Die. I took 100 to 175 emails into the email blast, and I start tagging everything downtown. Buy My Art Before I Die. Buy My Art Before I Die, and it organically just picked up. And the crazy part is them 75 canvases was my artwork. I didn't cover blank canvases. I covered up all my art because I felt insecure. I got into a depression. I was like, you know what? They don't understand me. So let me go ahead and dilute my art. I sold mostly every single canvas. I only got probably about 2 left. The campaign has been it's been opening doors in places I didn't even think that it would even happen. I went from tagging on trap houses in the hood to painting in a museum, not a gallery, a museum, and it was beautiful. It's been beautiful. So it wasn't supposed to be a campaign. I just felt led to do it. I just did it. You know.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's interesting. It's interesting. It's like an interesting concept. It's the same thing, like I said, people with flowers. You know, they were like, you
Yeah,
know,
give people like we wait till people die to give them love, attention, and affection. So I'm like, nah, give me my flowers while I'm here. If I'm great, if I'm healing you and I'm giving you all this different inspiration and blah 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 blah, why not love me and respect me and honor me while I'm here? That's so that the campaign is basically challenging people and provoking action. Like, yo, listen, love me now, not later. So
and you don't mean just you. You mean this is the way we should deal with one another. I'm sure. You know, from a
yeah,
standpoint of
absolutely, absolutely. Not just Seven God, but everybody. Like, it's no different when Nipsey Hussle passed away. He had a surge of energy. No different than how DMX died. He had a surge of energy. But these people were so important while they was here. They didn't get to receive that when they passed. So that's my thing. It's like, yo, let's uplift our leaders our leaders and our rappers, our artists now. Like, don't wait till they die to like be like, oh, I was a fan and I loved them, but you never said that. You never spoke out about it. Like, why wait till he died to like give that person praise and love? Like, and somebody actually challenged me. Like, I have people actually come to me and say, is something wrong with you? You okay? Are you suicidal? Even my own friends sometimes they're like, why, man? Why you saying that? Like, forget that. Kill it. At one point, I was gonna actually stop the campaign, but by the grace of God, I didn't. And some of my other friends was like, nah, if they don't understand it, it's not for them. Keep going. So, yeah,
I think that's interesting, and I want to say to those that are watching that not only to so-called celebrities, but the person next to you, the person that and the people that are in your home or your so-called friends or colleagues and so forth. These people, it is far better to for us to give that love and respect when the people can reciprocate, because it becomes reciprocal. You know what I mean?
yes,
So
absolutely, I agree.
yeah, so from a standpoint of because it's one thing to idolize or do all that for so-called stars, but there's an old song that I believe it was, I don't know whether it was Sly and the Family Stone or somebody, but they said everybody is a star. I'm not sure who it was, but that's the some people become superstars, but all of us are in a sense stars, and we all deserve to honor, we all respect and whatever it is when we can be reciprocal. No, when you're laying in that box cold and so forth, watching from a different dimension, nothing that the person can say, nothing that you're gonna but hey, you can save your finances and give people just something that they need, like a compliment, or can I help you through this, can I sit with you. I want to talk about the fact that you met about meditation. I
Yes.
want to share with us how important and how do you start your day? You start your day with I know you're not an early person except on Wednesdays and Fridays sometimes.
Nope, not true. I actually grew up in a Muslim home, and we had to pray 5 times a day. So I'm used to getting up early. The issue sometimes is my days overlap. So sometimes just being so busy that I'll be drained and I'll be tired. But certain days, um, I get like 5 o'clock in the morning. But I actually show. You asked a great question. So, this is how my day start. If you can see this,
Okay.
can you see it?
Okay. Prayer. Okay. Yeah. All right. It's kind of
Before I even do anything, I give thanks and I give praise for everything I got. And one thing I learned about being in the dark and being in a dark place was the fact that I had to be grateful for the good and bad times. Oftentimes we pray when things are going good, but what about when they're bad? Give thanks for even the bad times. So I learned I learned a sense of humbling myself at my lowest point. I also learned a sense of integrity and character. You know, who are you without money? Who are you without fame? I had to ask myself, who is Hashim without art? Who is Hashim without clothes? Who am I? And the universe answered the question, you know, and I answered the question myself. So I had to rediscover myself. So prayer is the first thing. Then I do my morning meal, and most of I fast. So my brother Sa, he talks about intermittent fasting, where you basically fast like 8 hours out of the day, and then you do
Juice to break the
yeah,
fast.
yep. So I do that in the morning. I juice. I do my ginger shots. I do my hot tea. If I'm not fasting, it's some kind of plant based food. I do my morning workout after that, which is like push ups, sit ups, meditation, yoga. After my workout, I do meditation. After meditation, I do inspiration. After that, I do my affirmation, and then I create for the day. But
So
before I create, I
let's
call my
back up.
kids.
So you call your children, right? So back. Let's
Yeah.
back up. So you said after you do inspiration. So what's the inspiration?
So before I even do inspiration, I do meditation.
Okay, so you.
Even before meditation, I work my body out so that my body, in a sense, it's kind of like drained, and I sit still, and I allow myself to heal. I allow myself to think. I allow myself to just pause. Meditation is really important because it allows you to just be able to put things on pause and tap into thyself. Be able to hear myself. You know, with so much noise distractions, I can't hear me. Um, so after I get done doing that, out of my meditation, I'm ready now. The first thing I do is I tap into inspiration, and everything inspires me from myself to conversations. So my inspiration is different every day. It's not the same exact thing. Some days I might reflect on my journey. I might reflect on my own art. And other days I might, actually do my research and be inspired by, a Dr. G or an abundance or, anything like that. So yeah, yep.
Okay, and then now I know we talked about it's a little different. You do some collective work
Yes.
with a team that you do to help others who now who are maybe creating or need they may be trying to create a business, a brand, or
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
concept, an idea. So talk a little bit about what you and your team do
So
to.
for the last I want to say 2 years, me and my team have been cultivating a collective called Jami Tribe. Jami is a Swahili word that means community. So we really not only preach that, we practice it within our art. A lot of our exhibitions, a lot of our work is based around community, it's based around healing, it's based around topics of substance. Within our collective, we do offer services. We have experts on our team that help us in all kind of angles, from lawyers to accountants, to interior design to CAD. We cover all bases, and if we don't offer the service, we have a network of people that basically can help you in any kind of facet. So we basically the plug, if you would say, we basically have the resources and the know-how to help you structure your business, build your business. With on my team, I'm not on my team, but within the collective, we have a famous photographer, a famous videographer, myself, a famous artist, and I say famous because um, once you get to once you get to a status of selling things and being known, you're famous. You may not be famous to the masses, but you're famous to somebody. I think also sometimes we also have to give ourselves credit while being on the journey and praise ourselves. So we definitely take what we do very seriously, and we definitely have a level of integrity what we do as a collective. Like, it's really important for us to like really pour back into the community and ourselves. So yeah, yep.
Do you offer your services in your local area, or is this something you do on a national or?
Everywhere, international, national, local, everywhere. No, it's nobody's off limits. We are we have a really great client base, which I love. We work with some really great people. We have some really great partnerships. So it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing, and it's really good to be able to surround yourself with good people. Good people, and it's not just business for us. We're family. So we do yoga together. We eat together. We fast together. Like it's really like a tribe. Like when I say a tribe, it's really a tribe. So me and my friends have became more than just friends. We became family over the course of 2 years of building this collective, and it's been beautiful. It's been beautiful.
That's awesome. So, from a standpoint of your advice to anyone who either themselves might be dealing with some kind of traumatic experience that has affected them mentally, or maybe they have a loved one that is dealing with mental illness of some sort, what would be your advice as far as how, as a person that's not dealing with that personally, how they should handle, or how they should, I don't know if handle is the right word. I guess I want to say, how do you interact? How do you no support? That's what I mean. How do you support that person's healing? How do you support what would have been, what was key to your, I know you mentioned your father, but what was key to your coming out of that space of paranoid schizophrenia, bipolar schizophrenia?
You
What
asked you asked me like three different questions, so I'm gonna try to remember.
I'm a Pisces, so
Yeah, I understand Pisces. I answered the first question that you asked me. You said to the person who's dealing with it, besides the support, the person who is dealing with mental illness or even just trauma, the first thing you ask yourself, do I want to be healed? I had to really sit myself and look myself in the mirror and say, all right, what do we want to do? Do we want to let this bury us and liberate us? So the question is, my first advice is asking yourself, like, do I want to heal from this? Because sometimes people use that as a crutch to get sympathy, to get money, to stay in that mindset. It becomes their superpower. It becomes like, hey, I'm mentally ill. I get a check, or
good check. Yeah, yeah.
So you ask them, do you want to be healed? The second question is, how do I heal myself from this? And what does that look like? It's different from everybody. So whether it's working out, whether it's herbs, whether it's arts, whether it's community-based work, you have to find somewhere to put the trauma. It's not going to work by you just letting it lay dormant, because what happens is, as you would know, and we both would know, anything that lays dormant, it grows. And it comes a point in a time where it's a breaking point. So my second advice to them is, what does healing look like for me? The third thing is my support system. It's very, very important that, to have that. And some people who don't have a direct support system, I promise you, the universe and the divine, when you really have great intentions, it provides people. It may not be the person that you thought it was going to be there for you, but when I tell you, Dr. G, people, places, and things have helped me heal through my process just by praying and having faith that it's gonna work itself out. From my mom to my dad to Abundance to Shakira, to a whole bunch of people that I can name within my tribe that helped me really heal. I'm Nataki Oliver at the Soul Firm. So many people helped me through what I've been through, and that was a great tool for me to be able to heal. And for them to be able to like really help me deal with my trauma and my mental illness. So yeah.
And
um
not be judgmental. I was, just, and
yeah,
sometimes
yeah, yeah,
when you
absolutely.
say that, sometimes one of the best forms of healing is when somebody just listens, or maybe they don't say anything, but they're
No,
with
I
you.
wouldn't. I would say, my dad always talks about my yacht, and it breaks down to this balance. Like, um, some of my friends did judge me, and it was good. It wasn't a bad thing to be judged, because I can respect your perspective because you my friend. It's not coming from a place of I'm judging you. I'm judging you based on a negative connotation. I'm like, yo, Hashim, I don't get what's going on. Talk to me. What's up? And I had to be in a place of not taking it personal. And it also challenged me. Like, if you are constantly pampered, you're not gonna heal. You have to be challenged. You have to be knocked off your rocker 3-4 times and say, you know what, hold on. It's no different than working your body out, working your mind out. You have to be able to be broken down to put yourself back up. Whether that be your friends, whether that be yourself, like it's Dr. G, this was a journey. This thing happened overnight for me. Like I literally sat in the house for almost 2 years and was going through it. And even when I came out of the house, I still was going through it. So it ain't a quick fix. You know, it takes time. You know, who I am today has been cultivated over years. It's not something that just happened, you know, magically. Like they're seeing the end result still in the process of becoming who I want to become. So yeah, it takes time.
When you started to paint, though, how soon after the traumatic experience did you actually start to create art?
Say it one more time.
How soon after your traumatic experience did you actually begin to create art? Because you said before that.
Soon as I was diagnosed and I was released from the hospital and I had to go to Metalwood, I had to go to Rockford. After all that, immediately I was introduced to a program called the Creative Vision Factory, which is it's a free studio space in the art center for everybody. I believe it's government funded, and when I went there, it was people that looked just like me that was doing art, and I was able to basically go to art school in a sense, basically learn art. Was introduced to like just different tools that allow me to paint, and I picked the brush up. The brush really found me. So I happened to be in a program and I walked in. I was drawn to it, and I just started expressing myself. Like I was like, you know what? And I fell in love with it. More and more I did it, I fell in love with it. I got better. And as I got better, I'm very ambitious. So my ambition grew, my passion grew. I started studying techniques. I started getting into different things that I can, you know, do. I went to different art shows. So I put myself in training camp, you know, for almost like 2 years dealing with my art therapy.
So when you spent those 2 years in your home, in the house or your mother's basement, were you creating there and as a
Yeah.
part of your
Yep.
healing?
And I got cussed out for it too. Got
Well,
cussed out for it.
because
Because you got to understand, like, you know, raising a kid who my mom never knew anything about mental illness. So if you come in your basement and I'm naked with a black mask on painting, he's like, what the F? Calling it like it's different. I'm in my own house now. I'm in my own space. I can do what I want now. But being in my mom's basement, I got Afro beats playing. I got a goon music playing like organically. Now, mind you, nobody has taught me this. This is all pouring out of me. It's almost like I was
possessed.
I was asleep. Laying dormant within me was all these things. And the moment I was introduced, it is poured out of me. So I was in my basement, just going through it, you know.
Wow. So that had to be. Is your mother now at a place where she understands and understands who you've become? Is she at peace with that?
I think that my mom at first she didn't really know how to like judge it or gauge it in a sense because it was very new to her. I think, and I could be wrong about this. I think, and I'm gonna say this, you know, gracefully and honestly, it's my success. If I wasn't successful, I don't know. Like, I think the only reason that I'm even accepted as 7 God is because I'm successful. The kid who once was called crazy and cuckoo, now now I'm painting in museums, and now it's being accepted. I wasn't what I did in my mom's basement. I'm not doing anything different. It just has evolved as far as the look, the polish, but I'm not doing nothing different. I'm still doing art. I'm still technically doing the same exact line work and having the same exact divine, you know, words on my paintings. Like, it hasn't changed that much, but because of the level of my success and and people accepting me,
Did you
they come around.
Were you painting on her walls or painting on canvas?
Nah, I never took it that far. I know she was gonna kill me for that.
So you were painting on canvas.
Yeah, but think about it, like, as you can tell, right, within my loft, it's art everywhere. So I shared the basement with my brother, with my 2 brothers. And you can imagine coming downstairs and it's canvases everywhere, it's paint everywhere. It's like, yo, what are you doing? Like, it's our room too. Like, all three boys in the basement. So it was a struggle. Like, it was a struggle. It wasn't something that I had free range and the basement was mine. It's like, nah, it was me and my two younger brothers, and they wasn't that young. So we are like not that separated in age. So yeah, it was rough. I mean, even me fighting with them and arguing with them, like they never really judged me. They never really said too much. They actually embraced me a lot. You know, that's what made me comfortable. They actually embraced me a lot, and um, although they didn't understand, they rock with me. My brother UC, we call him 13. He 13 God, and he that's my heart. He really like me and him got super close. I mean, like that's like my best friend, and my sister is my best friend as well. Um, but yeah, me and him got close because he actually was the person that had to help me out of my bed and help me how to walk. It was hard on him to see his older brother learn how to walk again, talk again. It hurt him really bad. So for him to see
Let's
me
go
like
back to that for a minute. What did the doctor say caused your inability to walk and talk? Was it
so
was
so
it
you
disconnect in your
one detail that I left out of my story that I didn't share was I was in prison and had out of body experience. They found me crashed on the side of the road in Montgomery County, PA, and I was thrown in prison. I didn't even know I was locked up. My first time ever being in jail, and not getting into the whole particulars of what happened, but to make a long story short, through prison, when my mom and my best friends bailed me out, I didn't believe it was real. I did not believe that God allowed me to witness all that I've seen and can still physically. I thought I was dead. So when I physically came back into reality, I battled between fantasy and reality. I'm like, this can't be real. Y'all can't be here. So as we driving back to Delaware from PA, my mom, I said, Mom, I got to use the bathroom. She pulled over, and I got out the car and ran butterball ass naked down the street. They chased me, they caught me, threw me in the car, took me to the hospital, and then in the hospital, that's when they basically told my mom what was happening, with me. And I survived because of I only survived because of my adrenaline. Like I was like in survival mode. I was like, my mom, when they bailed me out, my mom was gonna take me to Rockford. My mom was taking me to Rockford, and she was going to take me to Rockford. If I would have reached Rockford, I probably wouldn't be talking to you. I probably would have my heart probably would have failed, or my lungs probably would have collapsed. I was starving, and I was basically dehydrated. I didn't have nothing to eat in prison. I wasn't drinking nothing. And the thing that did keep me alive was I can't even say. I don't even know. But from my perspective, like I would say the rush of adrenaline kept me alive in a sense.
well, let me put this in perspective. So did this happen after you had the episode with the marijuana that was laced, or was this?
So this is the order. When a dice game, smoking a blunt, I go on a 3-day trip. I went missing. They couldn't find me for 3 days, almost a week. My mom got a phone call. Your son is locked up. She flipped. Mind you, they're looking for me for days. They can't find me. Nobody heard from me. Now I'm living in my mom's basement. I had a brand new car. So I went missing. I crashed on the side of the road in Montgomery County, PA, almost an hour away from where I live at in Wilmington, Delaware. They threw me in jail, and because I wasn't communicating with them, I didn't tell them my name or anything like that. It was hard for my mom and them to even bail me out. When they bailed me out, I had to be taken to a facility to pass a test to even be released. I passed the test. On the way driving back home, I hopped out the car naked, and it caught me, took me to the hospital, and that's when they found out I was slipped something and so forth and so on. So yeah.
Injured in when you jumped out of the car? Is that what happened to you? No. It was, as I'm saying, it was a neurological, I guess, that caused you not to be able to walk. Is that
So
was that
mind you, the whole time I was locked up, I did not eat.
Oh, okay.
So imagine taking ayahuasca, right? And not having nothing in your body, and then being put in a cell and say, go ahead, experience that. And then still not eating. no food, no water. Twice to keep myself alive, I drank toilet water.
Oh my.
That was the only water I had was toilet water. And because I was seeing things that they didn't see, it kind of was like so in prison you have units, right? So when I got inside of the prison, they put me in a medical unit, which is like the Looney Bone unit, where I'm naked in a clear glass, no blanket, no nothing. It's like an animal basically. And it's my first time being locked up, and I'm having a out of body experience. I'm still, mind you, I'm still having a trip. Whatever I took, it took me 3-4 days to come off of it, and then it really shifted my reality because I'm out of my body now. So all that happened in a matter when I, got locked up and was slipped something in a sense. And once they bailed me out of prison, then me running out of the car naked and me being in the hospital, now my body has time to rest. So all that, it's like being drunk. You sit down, it's like everything hits you.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened to me. It's like, okay, now you have time to rest. They had to pump fluids within me to bring me back, in a sense. Like, I had kidney damage, thyroid issue. I mean, all kinds of issues that I dealt with, during an accident, But for like almost a week, I didn't want to, I couldn't talk. I couldn't walk. Like, my legs was like noodles, like nothing. My body was gaining its energy back from enduring all that I endured. I was almost in jail for a month. I think from what the lawyer told me, it was almost like 3 weeks, close to a month. So 3 weeks without having any food or any water. I don't know how I survived. I promise you, I don't know.
Wow, that's an incredible story, and because I'm now there's something attached to taking that kind of drug, because I just the other week there was a gentleman, a guy right here, off of we had an issue where you remember 3 policy enforcers, police officers were shot trying to do something, and the very next day, because they're still with their presence was around, my son tells me there's a guy running down Market Street completely naked, jumping on people's cars.
Because
So
you got to also understand that these drugs that we are taking, these were used in ancient times to teach students how to tap into thyself. So the only difference is the government and the companies have taken control of of these drugs and are mixing chemicals. If you take the chemicals out, these are natural herbs to heal the body and the mind. Like, Coke, I believe, is like growing like in like somewhere in South America, and it's like a poppy seed, or not a poppy seed. It's a coca leaf or something like that, right? It's like a plant in a sense. These are all natural things that we used to use to heal ourselves, but because of capitalism, they're mixing chemicals in it and all kinds of different things, and now it's creating an off balance. So when somebody's, let's say, smoking a dipper, and they have a trip, people can't see what they see. Your eyes been popped. So now, oh my God, I'm on fire, and like it's a break in the mind. No different than taking hallucinant drugs. No different than taking mushrooms or taking ayahuasca. Like, these are all like tap into the third eye, the pineal gland. It's a real thing.
well, I see, but luckily for you, there was, the story, is a happy ending, so to speak, in that
Yes.
you're not
Yeah.
over, but you're on the other side of that and doing some really awesome things. And I think personally, to be able to tap in and to see beyond the veil is an amazing thing. And I wouldn't want to have to go through what you went through to get there, but to be able to achieve that level of clarity, and that level of being multi and interdimensional in one's perspective is probably what we used to do naturally.
I'll say this. Although it's a gift and a curse for me, because it's something I'm still, to this day, I'm still getting used to. I still have to get used to, like, seeing things, hearing things, being real sensitive to certain energy. And mind you, we're Pisces, so as Pisces, we're very emotional. So sometimes something as little as this seems big as hell to me. So it's a gift, absolutely, to be aware it's a gift, but it's also a curse too, because it's like it for me, it fucks with me sometimes, and I can't sleep. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a few years ago, a young lady gave me what do you call it? Brownies. Y'all know
Edible.
edibles
Yeah,
they call them,
careful
right?
with them edibles.
Oh yeah. So I was at an event, and she, she's like, here. She said, what size? What do you what? So she gives me a piece about, I guess, like a square, like you would get maybe about a 3-inch square of the brownie. And I tasted. I'm so, oh, that's good. I'll take. And I remember by the time I got from where I was, I think it was held at I not think it was held at a place off of Maryland Avenue to where where I stay. I was paranoid. I couldn't get out of the car. I was afraid to get out of the car. I was parked in front of my house, and I'm like, probably 20 steps from being able to be in the house. So it took me like forever to get out of the car and to get to the steps. So when I get to the steps, I get on the couch, and then I can't move from there. Everything was like, get here and try to stabilize yourself.
Yeah.
And then, finally I got upstairs, and I mean, seriously, I told somebody, I said, I was having an internal. I had a friend that had done an ayahuasca with a shaman up in Washington State, and she told me how it was. So I wanted to go over in Washington State with and experience what she experienced. Well, with this brown, is this edible? I tripped so bad that in my bedroom, I heard the voice say, "Oh, you want ayahuasca?" And I was like on a roller coaster ride, but I was riding inside of myself, if that makes sense. I was like, I couldn't, I could see what was going on, but I was like not outside. I was like inside.
So it's very scary not being able to control your vessel, not being able to control yourself. Like that's a scary thing when you don't have control over your body. Like it's woo, it's a lot. I was gonna ask you, do we have any questions in the chat? Anybody have any kind of questions?
Let me see. I see comments, but let me. Well, yeah, somebody says you can OD on edibles. I think I did. Because
yeah.
I ate
Some
the
people
whole
commit
bar.
suicide on some. I heard some people committed suicide on edibles. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's real dangerous.
I would never do that again because I have that was something that I didn't want to do. I just thought it was a good brownie. I had never ever had anything like that before. And
Right.
like I said, by the time I got from Maryland Avenue to home, it was like I was afraid to go in the house. Not like something was gonna get me, but I wasn't sure that I could make the journey from the car to the door. And then there, then I can't get off the couch. And then I get to the room, then I can't come out the room. And I was like, never, ever. And I heard this voice said, "Oh, you wanna try ayahuasca? Well, try this." And I was like on this crazy thing. And you're right. It is a lack of control. And I can imagine something as strong, as powerful as what you did, and what maybe that's the young man that was running down the street naked last week had consumed. What that is, and it is a loss of control. But the good news is that if there is a way back. And people need to, one, I could think the first thing is to be mindful of what you consume.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me just see if there are any questions. Harmony frequencies saying now. I don't have. Does anyone have any questions for Brother Seven God? It could be on anything that we've talked about art, about some of the experiences that he has had. We don't like to stay there in the negative, but I'm happy that you can talk about it without feeling like you have to revert back there. So that's the good part. So I'm not sure if there are any questions, any comments, anything that I can share with him. Anyone themselves who has had any kind of experience such as what we have been talking about, please, if you feel so inclined to do so, we would love for you to share that, because this is how I grow. I grow from being transparent. You know what I mean? And I think transparency is a way sometimes of shedding some of the stuff that we've been carrying. Like, hey, now that's out. That's not going to jump out and go, hey, did y'all know that? If you tell somebody what I said I did, I wouldn't care because I said I did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But what I will say is that I got over it. You know, that's not where I am anymore. And that's the to the goodness of, you know, the Most High to be able to, we're here for purpose. We go through things, I believe, what anything I've gone through that's traumatic, I believe I've gone through it so that I can, you know, be a blessing, if you will, to somebody else who may not be as strong as I am. I have, you know, experienced the death of a child. I've experienced, you know, domestic abuse. I've experienced, you know, a house fire with death. I've experienced so many things that a lot of people don't come back from. You see what I mean? And I believe that those things happened to me. I chose for those things to happen in this lifetime so that I could help others that would not be able to move through that the way I have. You see what I'm saying? So do you ever feel like you know, you chose this, if you will, in when you were writing your plan down for this lifetime, this incarnation? Do you look at life that way, that, you know, we are the authors, we are the scripters of who we are?
You asked me like two questions. I think I'm gonna answer the first
I asked a
question.
lot of questions.
Yeah, I know you're doing back to back. The first question was, you said, what did you say? What was your first question, Dr. J?
I have no idea. No, I'm asking you from a standpoint, do you feel like the experiences that you've had in this
Oh,
life?
I remember. I remember. I didn't have this written down in my plans to be the poster child for mental illness. I didn't have it in my plans to.
I'm
I
not
didn't.
not the ones you wrote down in physicality, but you know, it said that we script our lives. We pick our parents, we pick our life, you know, what station in life we're coming in each lifetime, what experiences we're going to have, and there's normally to some end we're going to grow as a result of that. So even though it might
I
seem
do.
like,
I do believe in that. So, with me believing that, maybe I chose to go through this experience. So, um, yeah, maybe I did choose this before I came to this dimension on this planet. Um, from me not remembering that, in a sense, I'll say that I, I didn't ever think in my plans this was going to happen to me, But just me believing in what you just said, like from that perspective,
mhm.
maybe I did choose to go through this experience. So yeah.
Yeah, we never, I don't think we ever sit down in the present lifetime and say, you know what, I'm going to be a failure, or I'm going to be a drug addict, or I'm going to be a wife beater, or I'm going to, you know, be a child molester. We don't do that. But we come here with a plan. We come here with a purpose. And I always say to people, you know, 9 months, 6 months, however many months you spend in your mother's womb, in that in lulled into complacency, I call the amniotic fluid. I just call it amnesia juice. So you forget the plans that you made when you said, send me, I'm going this time, and I'm going to do XYZ. I was rich and I was famous and I was prosperous in the last lifetime. This time I take a vow of poverty. I'm gonna suffer. I was good looking. I'm gonna be ugly. I'm gonna be despised. We pick these lifestyles because now we got to learn. You know, you talked about it, balance. So when we have to learn balance, the balance is not for the physicality. The balance is for our spiritual experience. Here we are, spiritual beings having a human experience, but we bring that back into our spirituality to say, hey, now I know you can't have dark without, and light. You need them both. You can't have good without evil. You need them both. So even in our lifetimes, we come back in different incarnations, having chosen certain either advantages or disadvantages based on what it is we need to learn. Remember, this is both the prison, planet, and the university. It's the school of hard knocks for many folks. And the bad news is we don't remember that we write the plan because we forgot. By the time we're born, they smacked us, on our behind and bring us out of the water and to breathe in air. It's like, damn, what am I doing here? And you forget. And so when you go through trauma, sometimes we cry foul, not knowing that this was a growth. This was something to grow us spiritually in our spiritual being, having this human experience. Possibly. I mean, this is I believe it. This is something that I really believe. Let's see what this is. How can? Here's a question. Oh, how can you measure mental thought being in a human form, and are you able to convert it?
I'll say it again.
How can you measure? This is from Naeem El Shabazz. How can you measure mental thought being in a human form, and are you able to convert it? I'm not, I guess change
I'm not sure the question. How it said, how can you
measure.
measure mental thought?
That's the question is.
I don't know that one. I don't have an answer for that.
I'm not sure exactly what that means either. I mean, I know we can be cognizant of how we're thinking, you know what I mean, and sometimes uh, bring things under subjection. In other words, you're getting sleepy. We can, you can take what it is that you are, especially if it's something that is bugging the crap out of you, or being like a sort of a, I call them ants, automatic negative thoughts. So if you're being bothered by ants, and then you realize that's what it is, you can transmute or change that. Just like you do meditation, and one of the things they tell you in meditation and mindfulness is that the thoughts they're going to come. The outside interference is going to come, but do you let it distract you, or do you just let it flow by? Apparently, if you ignore it, they will leave you. But if you entertain it, then it's going to do whatever it does. You know what I mean? So I don't know, when you're meditating, you have to take thoughts captive. You know what I mean? Especially if it's negative. You like, I don't know how many times I would have had to in my mind say, no, I'm not gonna entertain that. And maybe I don't say those words, but that's crazy. You can say that's a crazy thought. And no, I'm not keeping that in my head. And so that's the way I would transmute or change a mental thought into something positive.
Hmm.
The other thing that I've done is, just like I told the brother today who said my diabetes, I said I've never accepted anybody's diagnosis. Not that I didn't want. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you either accept it or reject it. And anything you reject, normally you're like, you mean to tell me he won't let me in? And eventually it goes away. But if you entertain negativity or positivity, either or, it's going to come in and do what it sets out to do. And there's nothing wrong with positive thinking, but most of us in the last 18 months or so, we have been so bombarded with negativity, and so many people now are depressed. You know what I mean? So many people are out of work, or they've gotten happy on their extra stimulus, and now they're saying we're gonna snatch that away because we need your asses back at work. You know what I mean? And folks are taking and they don't know whether they did the right thing. I don't think they did. So many things that are stressing people out today are really messing with people's psyche. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard for people to be on an even keel today. I mean, they don't have to take drug one. It's enough coming through programming to mess a person's mind up.
Right.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. So let me see if there are any more questions. Here's some. Let me finish this. The word illness is a dangerous spell to put on a body. Yeah, that sure is. Does the sun create light? I don't know the answer to that. Mental illness is suppressed and unhealed experiences from childhood that travels with you until to, I guess, you acknowledge and begin to reveal those experiences in order to heal. In some cases, but in the case of my guest, Brother Seven, God, his mental, even if it was something, I don't know how your childhood was, but you attribute it to the whatever was in the marijuana, the blunt that you smoked, right? Not to up to that point, you had not dealt with
Nah.
anything out of the ordinary.
Nope.
Yeah. So for many folks, Rain, I'm supposing that you're posing a lot of sort of you don't really expect answers from us necessarily on your questions. They're very, very deep. Like, what is beyond infinity? We don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm seven. I'm seven God. I don't know whether you know what's beyond infinity, but to me, infinity is, all of it. So I don't know what goes beyond there, and you know, so these may be just comments, but they have a question mark at the end of it. But I don't think they're rhetorical, not necessarily expecting an answer, because those are things yet that who knows what it is. But we become creators, and as a result of your experience, out of order, out of chaos, the chaos of that experience has brought order to your life, to the extent that it has created a whole another genre for you, another thing that you can now capitalize off. So that has to be a good thing. How about your children? How do they feel about what you do?
Um, they young. Daughter's she's 12. My son is 8. They still young. They still are. Although they are, going through it with me in a sense, they still don't really have a level of understanding what really happened to dad, what really dad went through. My journey. My daughter, she's my oldest. She probably has a little bit more understanding. But she still probably hasn't grasped it. She was 7 when it happened to me. So at 7 years old, you don't really understand what you are witnessing. And my son, he was a baby. So yeah, I mean, my children are young. They not old or nothing like that. I'm 29. I'm a young father, so um I do plan on writing a book to dedicate it to my kids, to give them a little bit more understanding of what I've been through. But right now they too young to even grasp what happened.
Yeah. Well, that I'm happy that you have been able to come back from that, so that while they are still young, you can be their father. You're not going to be, an embarrassment to their lives, or someone that has it. I saw a video on your IG, and you had a jacket on that you were painted about your daughter, and you were on your way. And it looks like she was she was doing a dance, or she was being
She was in a she was
break dance.
she was in a June this past Sunday. She was a part of a Juneteenth pageant. So we was supposed to come dressed with white jacket, black slacks, a dress shoe, and a bow tie. As you can see, I
You
do
did.
my own thing. So
Yeah.
I remixed the jacket. I had some black slacks on with some different kind of shoes. I had a Seven God T-shirt on, a Seven God hat, and my jacket said "Father of a Queen." It's very important to me to show up for my kids. Um, that's something that I value, because as a young man, I didn't have a lot of that. So I want to make sure that I show up as a father to my daughter, even if I'm not into what she into, even if it's not my thing. If it's important to her, it's important to me. So I want her to know that dad is trying. I'm not perfect. I'm not gonna hit all the marks, but the fact that I'm here, physically, mentally, spiritually, like these are some things that's very valuable to me as a father, to show up for her. So I want to come full throttle with the jacket and just give her praise. She deserve it.
So was she happy to see you, and
Absolutely, absolutely. She was happy.
I
Absolutely.
know you stood out above and beyond every other father.
Yeah, everybody really loved the unique leather to the jacket. I had a very good response. I got permission. I didn't do it, ignorantly. I got permission from the owner and the creator of the
The event.
Juneteenth pageant. They said it was okay for me to express myself as her father. So it was good. I think that's good, because I mean, me as a black man, it's very important that we show these kids a different level of masculine energy, a different level of what a black man looks like. Like, the perception that we were taught growing up, is not what I'm following. So to be a level of a little bit abstract to these kids is
Mm.
good. It says that, okay, this kind of person does exist, and I'm not the standard, but I'm an example for other young people that want to be themselves, and not have to say, I can't be myself because they ain't gonna accept me. And, just be you. So yeah.
Well, I thought that was awesome. I thought that was
Thank you.
an amazing presentation. And speaking of clothing, Do you have a clothing line? I know you said you were doing a clothing line. That was
Nah,
your
so I stopped doing clothes. I stopped my clothing line, but I still use some of the design, some of the same principles that I use in clothes in my art. So I do wearable art, but it's not particularly a clothing brand or I'm the brand and I do wearable art. So I do hoodies, I do custom jackets. Um I release collections at different times. I don't follow fashion's schedule. I just do things whenever I feel in my spirit. Everything's like limited, so it's very rare. So from my jackets to my hats, when I drop it, it always sells out because it's a rare thing. It's not like every season I'm coming out with something like this. It's rare. So yeah.
I can imagine, since you're not mass producing that it's time consuming to do each.
Nah, so I do mass produce, but on a small quantity. So I do about, let's say, 150 to maybe 50 garments sometimes, depending on what I want to do. But sometimes I do one-on-ones, but sometimes I do mass produce. So I balance once again. I do offer items that I mass produce, but it's limited still. Everything is limited. Nothing is mass produced on like a global scale. It's like it's minimal, real minimal.
Yeah, so a million people are not going to be rocking seven guys.
Nah, I don't want to. I don't, and not to sound, crazy. I don't even want a million people even doing that. I really want to keep what I do, um, to a certain level of exclusive. I want to have a certain level of integrity with what I do as an artist, as a creative. Everything's not for everybody, and I'm okay with that.
Right, right. Well, listen, yeah. I well, this has been to me, and for me, it's been a very enlightening experience. It's been a little bit cathartic for me because I've shared some things. I went a little bit deeper this time than I have before, but sometimes the necessity is based on the conversation, and I'm hoping that your story and your experience is one that for those watching, those who've been alive, and those who are watching this in the replay, we hope that you actually if you're dealing with anything or deal that of a mental capacity that may be some type of disorder, you or anyone in your kinfolk or your friends and so forth, that you will, one, learn more about it, be more tolerant, be open, find yourself someone who looks like you. A lot of times we go to other folks, and I'm not saying that they can't help, but there are therapists and folks that can who look like you that can actually identify with what you're going, because a lot of times people are hesitant because, like, oh, you don't know my story, you can't even identify with me. But find someone. It may not be someone who is a licensed person, but it may just be someone who just has that kind of nurturing. I mean, you mentioned how an integral abundance child has been and is in your life, in your recovery from that, and we always need somebody. We need someone, like I hear the song, we need somebody to lean on, and it's good that in your case you were able to surround yourself with people. But for those who don't, it is my prayer that somebody comes along in your life to give you that support that you need, that will foster your healing. What are we looking at? I'm trying to see what we're looking at. We're looking at the ceiling. Okay, so we got 40 seconds left. Any last comments or something that you would make?
No,
Well,
no.
well, I hope that you have enjoyed your time on Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm very appreciative of the fact that you were open and transparent and sharing, and we know what, just make sure, like, grow your own weed, know where your weed comes from if you're going to do it, because sometimes what won't affect somebody else would absolutely upset and alter your life. But
Yeah.
I'm grateful for your comeback. Really, truly, truly am.
Thank you.
So I will see you probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'll thank you. I know you're tired. Thank you so much. Here's one said, this guy is a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much.
Thank
Um,
you. I guess my last words is everybody who's on the chat who logged in.
are you still there? We can't hear you. You went mute. Oops. Can I
Can you
hear
hear
you?
me now?
Now I can hear you.
I definitely would say everybody follow me on social media. At the number 7 GODXX. Right now I don't have a website. My website is being currently under construction. If you want to shoot me an email, my email is 7godxxart@gmail. Um, and I thank you, Dr. G, for having me and allowing me to tell my story and just build with you on your platform. So I appreciate you.
I thank you too. I thank you for I'm putting this seven God XX art at gmail.com,
Yes,
and your IG is
the number 7 GODXX. So
okay.
7.XX is my IG.
All right, I'm typing something in here. Uh, okay, so here we go. I'll put it in the chat. Let me copy this right now before I put it there. I'm putting it in the chat, and I'm also going to do this really quick. I'm going to add this banner so that you will know. There we go. So to contact Seven God, his Instagram is at 7godxs. His email is 7godxxart@gmail.com. Reach out to my brother, and if you want some art or if you want some advice or whatever, I'm sure that you'll be glad. Hopefully, someone might want to talk and dialogue a little bit more, because everybody's not going to share their story here. So I appreciate you sharing, if you will, your experience with myself and my audience, and hopefully, like I said, somebody is going to get their healing as a result of this. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem, Dr. G.
Thanks, Dr. G, for all you've done. Godspeed, everybody. Thank you for sharing. Somebody says, Nadine Figueroa Basis, thank you for sharing your story. So we are going to go because we are tired, and we have a 7:00 yoga class. And for me, it's been a few days. So thank you so much, and until next time. See you guys on Friday with Brand Sheet. Dr. G. Really? Oh shit.
Yeah, that's me.
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 Dr. G. Really? Oh shit.
Yeah, that's me.